I'd love to chitty-chat, but tonight's the night I do my charity work.
Whether you love him or hate him for his goody-two-shoes nature, it's hard to deny that Ned Flanders is just about the nicest guy in Springfield. Maybe one of the nicest guys in cartoon history. He's the yin to Mr. Burns' yang. While he does have some moments that show character flaws and moral fallacies, he's overall a total sweetheart who's always got the best of intentions. Well, usually. Hey diddly ho, neighborinos. I'm Kyle with Wicked Binge, and these are Ned Flanders' Diddly Iddly Eats, Good to Evil. Now, for the most part, Ned's character is pretty much the embodiment of a good Christian man. So he has done a lot of good, and we mean a lot. So we've chosen only the most Christ-like of all. These are Ned's good deeds. To kick things off, let's talk about Ned's devotion to his family. Homer Simpson, well-intentioned though he may be, is far from the ideal family man, which is, in part, a reason for his envy of his next diddly-door neighbor. Where Homer is neglectful, lazy, self-centered, and often downright mean, Ned is incredibly gentle and loving towards his family. Whatever the situation, Ned does his best to keep his family's hopes high, like when his business venture, the Leftorium, goes under, and he keeps his children's spirits up even though they're having to sleep in a car. While he can be a bit overly protective of them, it's clear that Ned is devoted to keeping his children and wife safe and happy at all costs. In one episode, he tearfully recounts an instance of him drunkenly calling Ann Landers, a fictional character, a quote, boring old biddy, as him being more animal than man. And that was over a decade ago. Just forgive yourself already, Ned. Being mean to a fictional character one time doesn't take away from your qualities as a family guy. And that even extends to other families, like being a father figure to Bart in the Simpsons movie. Honestly, we really ought to give a whole separate entry to that beautiful hot chocolate he made for Bart. Just look at that blowtorched marshmallow, the candy wafer, the chocolate shavings. There's a whole Binging with Babish episode on it for a reason, but anyway, the deed. When Bart is sick of Homer's neglectful behavior in the theatrical film, Ned steps up to give Bart some much-needed positive guidance and fatherly support. Ned was willing to not only offer Bart some hot chocolate, but to take him on a fishing trip, genuinely disheartened that Homer had never done the same for him.
Does your dad ever take you fishing?
Not traditionally, at least, considering that Ned often shows concern on Bart's influence on his own children. The fact that he's willing to take him under his wing is even more admirable. He's looking out for all the families around him, not just his own, and that is a sign of a truly good neighbor. On that note, let's give our bronze medal of good to Ned's constant status as the ideal neighbor to the Simpsons. If there's anything that illustrates Ned's Christ-like turn-the-other-cheek mentality, it's his abundant patience for Homer and the Simpson family in general. Despite Homer's constant insulting and mistreatment of him, Ned is an incredibly passive man, attempting to befriend Homer often and showing great generosity and grace towards him. One common example is his habit of letting Homer frequently borrow equipment from him, only to pretty much never return it. The absolute most Flanders will ever do in rebuttal towards this is to ask him nicely to return his borrowed stuff, and he won't even get mad if he refuses. It's shown on several occasions that Ned has his limits with Homer. In Homer Loves Flanders, he grows to dislike Homer after he becomes annoyingly clingy after the two attend a football game together. And in Hurricane Neddy, Ned calmly describes Homer as the worst man he's ever met. With these two moments considered, it's clear that Ned has to make a genuine effort to be kind to Homer, and while he does often falter, it's impressive that he wants anything to do with Homer, let alone being a great friend to him.
You are the worst human being I have ever met.
In one episode, he outbid Mr. Burns to buy the Simpsons' house, so he could become their landlord, or landowner since there's only one lord, and he acted as a great owner, even repairing his newly acquired property while the Simpsons lived there. Heck, when Homer wrote an entire song dedicated to roasting him, the guy absolutely loved it, to the point of cranking it up when it came on the radio. And Ned is also practically a free bodyguard, as there have been multiple instances of him saving Homer's and others' life, a deed that definitely earns him the Silver Medal of Good. Ned is a man who's always ready to put others before himself, while many dislike the purely religious zealot he's become in later seasons. His original characterization was always to put his money where his mouth is. Ned is always willing to risk his neck to help others, one example being in the episode Homer the Heretic, when he saves his neighbor from a burning household, despite the blatant danger.
He'd have done the same for me.
He's also an altruist in general when it comes to this, from catching Mrs. Krabappel when she falls from a ladder, to saving Homer again with bulletproof glass, when he nearly gets shot on a bounty hunting job. Being willing to put your life in danger to save someone else is admirable even one time, but Ned's done it more than his fair share. Sticking to Ned's religion, he would probably cite Jesus' words in the Christian Bible, "Greater love has no one than this," to lay down one's life for one's friends. And for our gold medal of good, Ned does this quite literally by letting everyone use his bomb shelter. You would be hard-pressed to find a character as purely selfless as Ned Flanders. In the episode Bart's Comet, when a comet is discovered hurtling towards Springfield, Ned generously allows the entirety of Springfield into his bomb shelter, despite leaving him and his family totally cramped.
So I built the shelter big enough for both our families.
As if this wasn't generous enough, when it's decided by his fellow townspeople that one person has to leave so the door can close, and that one person is chosen to be Flanders, he obliges, willingly sacrificing himself so that everyone else in Springfield can live on. He had every right to be upset, and to at least somewhat defend himself, but he really channels his inner savior here and peacefully walks off to let his friends live on, fully expecting to die. He even asks his son, Todd, to shoot him if he tries to come back in, showing just how serious he was about his self-sacrifice. Side note, where did Todd get a shotgun? Thankfully, the comet doesn't destroy Springfield, being quite tiny, and Ned's friends all join him to willingly die alongside him if need be. Here, Ned extinguished any doubt that he was truly a good man, earning this deed the gold medal of good. But, as good as Neddy is, he is not entirely innocent. He does have a darker side and some bad deeds under his belt. We begin with one of Ned's many conversion attempts throughout Springfield, trying to baptize Bart and Lisa. We want to start by saying that there's nothing wrong with Ned trying to share his religion with others. In general, he's a genuinely good Christian who pretty much always means well, even if he is rather stereotypical. But there are times where Ned can act inappropriately towards others from his faith, even if he does mean well. A good example is in the episode Home Diddly Dum Doodly, incredible name by the way, in which Ned takes the Simpsons children into his home as a foster parent when Homer and Marge are pronounced unfit parents, until they pass a mandatory parenting class. For the most part, Ned is a loving surrogate parent to the three Simpsons kids, but he does falter when he realizes none of the kids are baptized, prompting him to take them to the lake to baptize them himself. Whatever your stance on baptism is, we don't think most people would disagree with us when we say that it's the parent's choice whether or not to go through with it. And considering Ned actually knows Marge and Homer personally, being close friends with them, it's very disrespectful to them as parents. With that said, let's talk about one of the more unintentionally cathartic moments in Simpsons history: punching Homer in the face. Yes, really, this does happen in the season 24 episode Black Eyed Please. We see here a very rare instance of Ned losing his temper. Now, anyone who's watched a single episode of The Simpsons probably thinks that Ned giving Homer a little knuckle sandwich isn't too big of a deal. In fact, it's pretty tame compared to everything Homer has put him through over the years. And this was 10 seasons ago, mind you, so there's probably more on the big guy's record. We have to feel some sympathy for Ned, not only considering this dynamic between the two, but also his dynamic between his parents, who consider him a total drag and prefer the company of Homer, who gladly gets stoned and joins in their teasing of him. To be clear though, as much as we feel for Ned here, it doesn't justify punching someone in the face, especially not hard enough to give him the minor injuries Homer suffered.
If I'm not as good as you, then I'm horrible.
That said, we also can't put this any higher since he spent the rest of the episode trying desperately to make up for what he did, even if he was partially just concerned with keeping up the image he had as the better man. That said, Homer certainly has gotten Ned into his fair share of trouble. Take their trip to Las Vegas, for instance, where Homer's bad influence leads Ned to getting incredibly drunk and marrying a waitress, a deed that earns the bronze medal of bad or evil. Yes, Ned Flanders, the closest thing in Springfield to a truly upright citizen, has technically committed adultery. It's hard to think of something more out of character, but after getting extremely drunk with Homer, the two end up waking up to realize to their horror that they've married waitresses they met the night before. He really should have stayed away from the blackberry schnapps, if getting drunk just once made him do that after all. Thankfully, the two managed to escape Vegas, actually kicked out of Vegas, forbidden to return, and we can't get too mad at Ned, since he obviously didn't consciously want to cheat on his wife. But still, this is a pretty blatant mark on his record. We hope that it doesn't lead to an awkward conversation between him and Maud in heaven. Speaking of, later on, Ginger actually returned to her lawful husband in Springfield, this being after Maud passed away, and Ned reluctantly tried to make their relationship work. Unfortunately, or maybe fortunately, depending on how you look at it, she leaves upon realizing the family seems too good for her and her lifestyle.
I can't take it. You're too goody-goody.
It's good that Ned at least tried to make things right by accepting the woman he mistakenly married, but the whole drunkenness and adultery combo thing is something you can't skim past. And speaking of sinfulness, our silver medal of evil has to go to Ned's Flanderization. Normally, we wouldn't be so on the nose in a list like this, but considering how hard it is to find anything bad Ned has done, not to mention the fact that this term was literally named after him, we think an exception can be made. For those unaware, Flanderization is a term referring to the tendency of long-running shows to take a once notable trait of a character and make it their entire personality.
They'll be Flanders.
Take Mr. Krabs from SpongeBob as one example. His greed was once a humorous aspect of a more complete character, but it's become his entire personality in later seasons. There are many other examples of the term, but Ned Flanders is pretty much the man who unintentionally invented it. His original characterization was a good man who happened to be a Christian, the embodiment of love thy neighbor as yourself and then some. But in later seasons, Christianity has come to define Ned's entire personality, which can lead to him being intolerant and discriminatory of other religions and beliefs, from working overtime to get evolution banned from schools and museums, to making several offensive comments about other religions. It's clear that Ned is a man who's not hesitant to beat others over the head with his Bible. His most egregious sin in this territory is his tendency to shelter his kids, Rod and Todd, not caring that they're complete social outcasts, and on one occasion sending Todd to live with the Simpsons when he starts to lose his faith over depression from his mother's past death. That's just seriously messed up, Ned. Classic Ned would have consoled his son through his grief, and never would have dreamed of kicking him out. That said, as horrible as Ned can be in later seasons, we have to at least blame some of that on bad writing. It feels only right to give the gold medal of evil to something Ned did even in his original years. So our top spot has to go to the iconic episode Hurricane Neddy. This episode is a fan favorite, and probably the most memorable story revolving around our favorite NEDDY. Unfortunately, it's also by far the most blatantly negative light we've seen him in. You know, one of those memes with the Joker on it that always says something like, when a nice guy loses his patience, the devil shivers? That meme pretty much sums up Ned's behavior in this episode pretty much perfectly. We've seen throughout this list that Ned is generally the most generous, selfless, and passive man in Springfield, but even the most kind-hearted man has his limits, and when a hurricane destroys his home, he starts to grow frustrated. Why would God target him? He's done everything the Bible says, even the stuff that contradicts the other stuff. The other residents of Springfield band together to try and rebuild his home, but despite their good intentions, the house that Love built breaks almost immediately, causing Ned to go off on the entire town. He roasts pretty much everyone, men, women, children, even Lenny, who he doesn't even know. There's even a deleted scene where he calls Milhouse Four Eyes despite he himself wearing glasses. While we can't blame Ned for losing his temper to an extent, here we saw him absolutely tear the people of Springfield apart when they were all actually well-intentioned for once.
Hey, buddy, got a quarter?
We discover in this episode that Ned was a terribly behaved child until his awful parents took him to see a psychiatrist, whose solution was perpetually spanking him until he stopped behaving badly. The fact that Ned's immediate reaction to his breakdown was checking himself into a mental hospital is proof that he's still a good man, despite being pushed to his limits. But this is by far the most openly mean Ned Flanders has ever been.